welcome to the Ethereal Explorer podcast. I'm your host, Amy, and I will be your guide on episode 1. Everybody, this is day 1, and I couldn't think of anyone better to do this episode with than my guest today, Galit Raiman of Astrology Dome. Thank you so much, Galit, for being here. You're one of my favorite astrologers to follow. So everyone, if you haven't followed her already, she's amazing. So that would be at Astrology Dome, YouTube, Instagram. It's awesome. So thank you so much for being here. And so first I'll just introduce our topic for today, which is the Age of Aquarius. And I didn't choose this topic for episode 1 by accident. I actually feel like it has everything to do with how this podcast has come about and what we're all doing here and sort of the energies behind everything. So Galit is a total authority on this, and it's one of her favorite subjects to talk about. And we will be learning, what is the Age of Aquarius? Are we in the Age of Aquarius? How does it affect us? How long does it last? We have many questions. And so Galit, I hand the floor over to you. You can introduce yourself and let us know about you and our subject today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate that. And yes, it is my favorite subject since I remember it myself. I started doing astrology at a really young age, when I was probably 18, many years ago. And astrology is part of the Age of Aquarius. Astrology was here for ages. Even the Egyptians and the Babylonians did astrology, but somehow it's a Uranian Aquarian. Obviously, it's related to Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius. But what are ages at all, and why do we say the Age of Aquarius? And what is the Age of Pisces? Why do we even have this division? So I want to talk about that a little bit, because it all relates to the way our planet Earth, and I'm not going to go totally scientific, just a small explanation. Earth lies on its side. It has a rotation, and we are a part of a solar system. The solar system is a part, there is something called the precession of the equinox, and it's changing the way we sit with the zodiac. The zodiac itself is the container that contains all the stars. And obviously it's a dynamic system, and it keeps changing. So the way we sit in the zodiac, the way the constellations sit with the zodiac, changes 1 degree every 72 years, which create the big year, which is about 26,000 years. So it takes, for the big year, round trip around that big year, 26,000 years. More or less, it's 25 point something. That's why we derived the name the Age of, which lasts about 2,160 years per sign. It's related to how we are a part of that zodiac movement. Let's not get into the science, but let's get something clear, that each age is about 2,000 years or so. Yeah. Okay. So that's a new piece of information, probably. And there is no one day that says, okay, the Age of Pisces is done and this is the Age of Aquarius. It's a process, like everything in life. It's a process. So we are in a transition between 2 ages. And one more thing I'd like to add is that the ages go backwards, like a retrograde motion. So we're moving from the Age of Pisces, which is the 12th last sign, into the Age of Aquarius, which is the 11th sign. So we're going backwards, kind of. So the enmeshment between the ages and the transfer between one age to another can take many, many years, can take, 50 years, 100 years, because what is 100 years in comparison to 25 or 26,000 years? So there is no one set date. And actually, the Age of Aquarius, some people believe have started already. Some people believe will start at around 2050, 2100, something like that. But hey, we are already feeling it, and there is no 1 day break. So we lay the ground for what is an age.
Okay.
But what does an age mean? And why do we use that word? An age is actually a representation of an archetype that is predominant for those years. For 2000 years, we are all living through a story of an archetype, and this will be represented in our myth and lores and stories and the way we do things, and it will in filter every system, every notion, every invention for that particular age. So for Pisces, the age of Pisces started around the birth of Christ, just even before. And Christ was a good representation for the age of Pisces, moving away from war and division and trying to cultivate more love and compassion, which are the main traits for the archetype of Pisces. However, each sign has positive and negative traits.
Hmm.
So Pisces, on the highest positive ideal trait, is beauty, compassion, love for others, embracing, peace, creativity, all those beautiful traits. On the other hand, the negative part of Pisces is escapism, is dogma, believing in one way of seeing the world because escaping into religion. And we can see how in the age of Pisces, the religion, especially the Catholic Church, is rising to be the highest authority on what is truth, on burning some other knowledge systems and making sure that everybody's going into that particular dogmatic system, and making sure that everybody needs an interpreter in order to connect with God. You cannot connect with God on your own. You have to have someone to help you, and that would be the church, the priest, the whole
Mm.
structure of that. Also, the age of Pisces is about victimhood, telling ourselves a story that we are victims and we need a savior. And only a savior from the outside can help us and resurrect us to be something else. And so we are all in the mercy of the rulership of others. That is the positive and the negative. So you see how that plays a big part in what we
Yes.
perceive as reality. Should I continue or do you have any
Yeah,
questions?
I was actually going to ask you what age came before Aquarius. I was
What
going to make
age
sure we
came
got to
before?
that, but that is such a huge piece that I didn't realize was such a factor because I guess we still have one foot. We almost like have one foot in each age for a while. So we're seeing all of that. Um, and then there's going to be, I guess, a transition into the next age. And when that happens, you know, what happened? What do we see happen when Aquarius is now sort of approaching or
We
here
are
or
in that. We are the transition. The fact that you and I are speaking about that, this is the transition already. But you ask a good question. What was before the age of Pisces? So it was the age of Aries, and those were wars and conquering and creating spaces that are designated for certain tribes. Or there were no countries yet. Yes, there were countries in a sense, but those were really aggressive times but that was the negative side. The positive side, we have learned how to hunt. We have learned how to take care of ourselves. We have learned how to cultivate and farm and create sustainability for ourselves. So each age brings its own presence and its own challenges at the same time. We're not going to go through all the ages because we're going to miss the point of this podcast, but uh, that's the way the ages proceed. And so after the age of Aquarius, we will go into the age of Capricorn, but we're not going to talk about that.
okay.
Um, what else do I have to say? The age of Pisces, I talked about that in Christ. And the age of Aquarius is actually, there were myths starting actually at the 18th century about the age of Aquarius, where it's going to be that golden age where humanity is going to step into this amazing, harmonious situation. Everybody would live together in harmony and peace will prevail. Amen. It
Okay.
doesn't really work like that. but
Darn.
but it, it gives us hope. And why do we get this starting at the 18th century? We get all kind of mentioning of the Age of Aquarius, or actually the new golden age. It wasn't called the Age of Aquarius yet, because people believe that people were always afraid from a cataclysmic event such as a meteor hitting the earth and fires and avalanches and natural disasters that will wipe us out.
Mm-hmm.
Also, let's not forget there is always that myth of Atlantis, that
Mm-hmm.
there was an ancient civilization at some point in time. It is mentioned only in a few places, but we all carry that memory in our psyche of that old civilization that was destroyed and humans did not survive. Obviously, we did, we are here. So, but the fear of such an event is always prevalent in our psyche, even if it's buried somewhere in the back of our mind. And so we're always hoping that one day we'll be saved and there will be this golden age where we will not have to worry about anything anymore and we will be safe forever and ever, living happily ever after. So that notion brought with it the promise and the hope that one day we'll go back to the Garden of Eden. It's already in the Bible. Everything that we learn started from the Bible, and that initial story of the Garden of Eden is kind of the age of Aquarius, where she ate from the fruit, uh, Eve ate from that fruit, and she became knowledgeable, right? What
Mm-hmm.
happened to her? She became knowledgeable. Suddenly, she could see beyond the veil of human existence. And that's what we all are seeking, to see beyond that veil, beyond the limited understanding of us as humans. We believe, all of us, that we came from somewhere greater than us, maybe from the stars, maybe from God, maybe from somewhere. We don't really know, but we have the notion that there is a secret and we just need the little key and we'll open up and bam, we're all going to be washed with that amazing understanding of who we are, what are we doing here, and how can we upgrade that being of that human body machine into becoming uh, godlike and manifest that beautiful life that we all deserve and want. So, this is the archetype of that golden age that we're all wanting to bring to Earth, to us right here, right now. There is another notion that every generation that comes to the planet says, oh, when they grow up, when they become around 40 years old, every generation says, oh my goodness, this new generation is no good. The old ways of doing things were much better. In my time, we knew things. And, every generation says that story that the new generation is not good enough. And that is actually not true. It's the old generation losing power and having to hand that power to the new generation, because in our evolutionary process, we keep evolving. It's our human judgment to judge whether we like this evolvement or not. We can have a comment about that, but it doesn't mean that the new generation doesn't bring or is not good enough as the old generation. On the
Mm-hmm.
contrary, usually the new generation brings the new hope, the new message, the new progress in society. Yes, it is different than how things used to be, but we cannot judge if it's good or bad unless we see the outcome of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see the outcome of the Age of Pisces. What
Mm-hmm.
we don't really like, because some of it was beautiful. We've
Mm-hmm.
learned to create faith. We've learned to create help. We've learned to create communities. We've learned to create modern society as we know it by now. And this helped us form a longer longevity, healthier sustainable, to sustain life longer, create modern life. Yes, it has its pitfall. Every age has its pitfall. And we're dealing with some destructive behavior of thinking that Earth resources are infinite. We discovered that
Mhm.
they are finite,
Mhm.
what our influence on Earth is. So, this is part of what the Age of Aquarius will have to deal with. How do we live in sustainability on this planet, which is the only planet we know at the moment? We discovered that if you try to create mass fear by saying to people, if you're not going to redeem yourself, you're going to hell, then this is not a good technique. However, it worked for quite a while, for 2000 years or so. It worked pretty well.
Yeah.
And we're still seeing the fear mechanism, right? If you're not going to abide the law, if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to, I'm not going to go into all the controversy about the coronavirus or whatever, but there are a lot of fear mechanisms that we have instilled in our society, and they are viable tools for control.
Mm.
However, let's not forget that we have grown in the amount of people on the planet. So we have now billions of people living on the planet, where 2000 years ago we had probably a few million, the most.
Mhm.
How do you handle that amount of people? You need some mechanisms of control, not in a bad sense of the word, in a good sense of the word, to provide food, to provide clean water, to provide clean air, to provide clothing, to provide work. So we need, but the question is, did the structures that we created, or are they serving us, or maybe some of them needs an update? And that is
Mhm.
really a natural cycle for things. Things don't last forever. We are constantly updating our phones, we're updating our computers. We should update the system. So, in a sense, we are experiencing the pitfalls of the age of Pisces, the end of it. And Pluto is the planet that is responsible for major transformations of death and rebirth in astrology. And Pluto has entered Capricorn in 2008 in order to go through that transition and show us what's wrong with our system. And Pluto is responsible to bring up all the shadow, all the darkness, all the things that are not working. Somebody has to do that job, because otherwise we wouldn't know what needs to be fixed. So Pluto was going through that. Once it went into Capricorn 2008, immediately we had the financial meltdown.
Yeah.
So this was the first wake up call saying, hey guys, what are you doing with your financial system? Is it a good system? Is it the only system? Should you think about alternative? Shortly after Pluto's entry into Capricorn, we discovered that we can invent Bitcoin, right? We can
Yeah.
invent digital money. Maybe that is a different way to look at how we exchange energy and what do we get back for the energy that we give. Then we discovered that maybe houses are costing more, and all that movement of tiny houses started happening.
Yeah.
So every time we discover that something doesn't work, men are so inventive and so creative, and we bring new solutions. And this is how we evolve. And this is evolution. So Pluto also shows us, and especially now it's so relevant and prevalent on the planet, that some systems of control and even democracy, some systems of government are not really the ultimate systems that we thought they were. Maybe we need to rethink the way we do government and the way we govern ourselves. And Pluto is finishing as we speak. Pluto had moved into Aquarius on March 23, 23, a big day of movement into maybe signaling the age of Aquarius finally. It's going to be in Aquarius only for 2 months until June 11, going back to Capricorn to finish wrapping up that discovery phase of what is corrupted, what
Mm.
is no longer serving us, what do we need to see. It will bring all that unfortunately dark side to the surface in a way that we can all face that and say, okay, so what do we need to do about it? Obviously, it creates tension when we see that things are not working. First of all, it brings up fear. That's our first
Mhm.
response to things that are not working because we're afraid, oh, what's going to happen now? Now, fear belongs to the age of Pisces. It's a mode of operation that we have all learned to deal with things. Instead of going to the rational mind, we're going to the superstitious beliefs of fear. Somebody is going to devour us. Somebody is going, we're going to be miserable. We're going to be victims. That's the age of Pisces. We're moving
Mm.
away from that well in our conscious thought, understanding that we are actually responsible for creating our life. But I'll get to it in a second. Um, so we're dealing with the death of the age of Pisces and the
Yeah.
death many structures that are no longer serving us.
Yeah.
This is a huge ending, and we all feel it. We feel confused, we
Mm.
feel sorrow, we feel lost because the way we thought things are, it's not a bulletproof thinking or being. We need to shift. It's not easy to shift. Most people, we are security based organisms. We don't like changes so much. As much as we say, oh, we love changes, let's experiment when it comes to our personal life, we're not sure we like it so much. So we're not sure that we will be safe, right? It's about safety, becoming safe. But
Yeah.
Pluto move into Aquarius will provide us with a glimpse. This is a preview. It's only going into Aquarius at the end of 2024 to stay there all the way until 2044. This is a big transit. It's a 20-year, 21 years transit that Pluto will stay in Aquarius. So most of your lives, you young people, and most of my life will be spent through that transit of Pluto in Aquarius. And it brings us this immense fresh air and changes. Do you want to say something?
Oh, I was just calculating. I was just doing the math in my head. Wow, that's cool.
So your
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
will be born with Pluto in Aquarius.
Yeah.
And when they mature and grow up, that next generation, they will bring in and hone that Pluto in Aquarius, that new consciousness, that new evolutionary stage in our development as humans on this planet. They will be the builders of that. Every generation comes, Pluto is a generational planet. So it stays about 20, 22 years in a sign. And every person in that generation carries that idea, that archetype. And every one of those people will bring it forth into the collective in their lifetime. So
Wow.
you probably have Pluto in Scorpio, I think, or well, your
I don't know.
generation,
I'll look.
and every generation comes with a message to do that together with
Oh,
unique perspectives of people. So every person is that unique perspective, but overall, we have a collective generational message every
wow.
20 years that helps us build and go forward. This is how we
Wow.
evolve.
Cool. That's amazing. I didn't know
So
that in inquiring about the Age of Aquarius that it was the subject is actually so much more about transitioning between ages right now for us anyways. Like transitioning from Pisces into Aquarius is kind of the big thing of our lifetime, basically. That's just so
especially your
cool.
generation, you
Yeah.
are the transition. Well, we're my generation is doing it as well, but your generation is really living it. You're the embodiment of that movement. You're
Wow.
discovering the new vibration, even the word vibe. right? It came to the surface a few years ago. We used
Yeah.
to say, oh, this place has good energy, but now this place has good vibe. What is vibe? Vibe is short for vibration. So your generation has discovered that everything is vibrational. And this is
Hmm.
obviously it's not a new discovery, but this is a new mass adaptation of
Yeah.
understanding that whatever we send out is what we get, and so forth.
Yeah. And it really like that truth feels very visceral. Like it's not just a thing that is like you can know. The vibe thing is something that you feel now. I feel like more than well, for me at least what I used to. Um
But
yeah,
only just by using and adapting that word,
I
you
have this
already
plant because I can feel it. Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So
My
your
co-star.
generation is much more aware to your surrounding and how it affects you and how you affect your surrounding. This is a bigger understanding or a fuller understanding of what life is and putting your attention somewhere that was never, not never, but was not common before. Because
Mhm.
before the idea was life is happening to me, but now the
Mhm.
idea is life is happening for me. And it's
Yeah.
a different perception, it's a different focus point. Where you focus, where focus goes, energy flows.
Mhm.
So your generation is doing things differently, which leads me to the expansion in consciousness and the discovery that we can expand consciousness, we can research what consciousness is, and actually, this research leads us to that rabbit hole of saying, who are we as humans? What is this existence? And more people are joining in to discover answers for this question. And the more we research that question, the more solutions and pathways we find to redefine our identity as species, not just
Mhm.
individuals. We're all doing it. Once Pluto went into Aquarius and Saturn went into Pisces right now, this month, last month, we are all redefining ourselves as what we
Mhm.
want to do, how we want to live our life, what is really important for us to do in the time that we are spending here on earth. These are all new questions because before we did not have the luxury of asking those questions. We
Yeah.
were working in the fields, we were
Yeah.
working for somebody else in maybe factories, or if we were lucky, we were working at this person that has the fields, and we were not allowed to ask any questions about uh, do we like this relationship, do we like this existence. We were just surviving. But now with the rise of the capitalism and the ability to live a very comfortable life, at least in the Western world, some countries don't share that privilege yet. Hopefully they will, because equality is part of the marks of the age of Aquarius, that the people deserve equality, that we all deserve the good words of Aquarius: freedom, togetherness, everybody's equal, no judgment, giving, collaborating, advancing, doing and developing new ways of being in community. And the sentence for the greater good of all
Yeah.
suddenly raises up, and you can hear it everywhere. It wasn't like that. It was for the greater good of the king, and
Yeah.
only the king, the ruler, right? So what has changed? Let's go back to the 18th century when Pluto was last in Aquarius. 1777 was Pluto went into Aquarius until 1792, I think, something like that. And that was the time of the French Revolution. And that was the time when the United States was established as the United States, the free country for the people, by the people. Those are the
Wow.
messages of Pluto in Aquarius. So here we
Wow.
go again, right?
That's so cool and so exciting. And I do think about that sometimes too, about how we have like our modern times and society have afforded us so much extra time to think. But back in sort of a Pisces era, I think what looks like it did was just gave more people more time to fear. It gave everybody a lot of extra time, and then a lot of fear and control was able to kind of take a root. And so now it's nice to see like we can use that free time that we have for thinking with the Age of Aquarius energy to kind of transition away from all that fear-based living and more into something that's constructive and better for evolution. So that's just so cool.
Well, we are more safe because if you think about ancient time, people had no safety. People died at
Hmm.
a young age.
Hmm.
People were ruled by others. Most of the people had no freedom and had
Mm.
no, they didn't even have food. They were really struggling on a daily basis to make ends meet to feed themselves and their kids. It was more despair times. We live in such luxurious times that we can decide whether we like this headphone or that headphone for, your
I
phone.
guess that's
And
the first world. I think there's obviously still there's a lot of variation on the planet right now, which is kind of crazy, you know. Um,
very crazy. How can we live
yeah.
in the 21st century and some people don't have clean water for drinking? This is unacceptable. This
Hmm.
means that we're not sharing resources in an appropriate way. And
Yeah.
the main thing I think that the transition to the age of Aquarius is showing us, and especially your generation, is that if one suffers, we all suffer because we believe that we can live happily ever after in America with our TVs and consumerism, and let these people in the other countries die from not having enough water or clean water or enough food. But we reached a time where the internet as a tool gave us more awareness. And that awareness, when it touches our heart, we feel compelled to create solutions for those that are less privileged because we are loving creatures. After all, we have that function of being a loving creature. And just like the apes, we hug our babies. And just like the apes, we also bleed. And so we care. And when we care, and the information age which we live in allowed us to become more aware of other existences on the planet with us, we cannot stand quiet against inequality, such inequality that babies die out of hunger. That is not
Hmm.
fair. And we all feel it now. And we want to do something about it. The danger with the age of Aquarius, let's look at the fork of the road. There is always a positive side and a negative side. So Aquarius, positive keywords. Aquarius will bring us incredible advancements in technology that we cannot even imagine. You and I, this is the year 2023, but just imagine that we're jumping now to 2044. Can you imagine what's development are around you? I cannot, because it's beyond my capability of even imagining at the moment. Obviously, we'll have flying cars and all those things that we can, from our moment in time, imagine. But what we cannot imagine will be there as well. So the Age of Aquarius will bring more robots. It will bring the AI that we are already seeing the glimpse of it. So maybe we're all going to be connected somehow to AI that will do a lot of processes for us. It will bring aviation development, space development. Maybe we will finally make contact with some galactic friends or become more aware of galactic possibilities or create more ways to get out of here. And who knows? It's something that we are working on as a collective. It will bring us the ability to use information in faster and faster ways. So we will enhance our longevity, probably living more and better lives, quality of life. It will bring less invasive therapies in medicine, more light and vibrational therapies, which we are developing, yet this will grow, and probably many other inventions that I cannot even name at the moment. Let's recheck in 10 years.
Okay.
But
I'll
it will
probably
bring,
be able to, I was gonna
yeah.
say I'll probably be able to get to you in Hawaii from Vancouver in like 1 hour in my own personal pod that just zips me across the ocean.
Or maybe you will be like beam me up, Scotty, in Star
Maybe.
Trek.
Definitely possible somehow.
Yeah, getting disassembled and being reassembled here in
Yeah,
Hawaii.
sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, so we're going to expand consciousness, understanding of who we are as humans, what our capabilities are, and how where we want to take that. We're also going to create probably alternative and more sustainable ways of how to come in a community and probably how to govern ourselves.
Mm.
I always love John Lennon's song Imagine. Imagine there is no country and no religion too, right? So maybe we will let go of those ideas and change the way we perceive communities and change the way we perceive beliefs and what is God and that sacredness to spirit that we all are trying to find how to cultivate more connection to. So that is one line. The negative part of it, Aquarius is a mental, cold, scientific sign. So it will bring science, but what about the heart? Aquarius can be
Mm.
very detached. It may say, maybe there is a path that may say, you know what, AI can make a better system, can think better than we are because the heart and the emotions are not involved. Maybe we're going to let AI rule for us and decide that it's going to be our ruler and make decisions for our private life. How you like that? You know, maybe we're going to say everybody has to get this and this and this vaccines and things because this is the best way and this is the system. I'm sure many people are not going to be in front of that. So
Mm.
the autocratic side of Aquarius can be very systematic, scientific rulership. Do we like that? Do we like only mind, no heart? Or maybe we'll find that we can combine them. But as with every age, an age is, let's say, 2000 years package. So in the beginning, we still have the back and forth transition. In the middle, after 1,000 years, 1,000 years from now, the year is 3023. What's going to happen there? We are already very much into the age of Aquarius. I don't know. I can't even imagine where it's going to be.
Mm.
And then what's going to happen at 4023? That's going to, I don't know. I don't know. It's way too far for me to even imagine. Can you imagine, Amy?
No, I cannot. Only because 2000 years ago, if you would have described even what me and you are doing here right now, it wouldn't have made any sense to anybody. It
No, we
would have
would be burned as witches, even talking about it.
that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
two people not even in the same country being able to talk to each other. It's like that sounds psychotically insane. So probably what the landscape will look like 2000 years from now will also sound in just insane to us now.
exactly. But actually, we are the people that are laying the foundation for that future. So, as I said, every generation has a place and has a contribution to the next generation. That's why we're all, if you noticed, many people are dealing with healing their traumas right now, and
Mhm.
we also have a name for it, ancestral trauma,
Mhm.
because we finally got the understanding that every generation is built upon the shoulders of giants, those that came before. Some of it is really good. They gave us a lots of presents and a lot of research and a lot of things. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can reinvent AI. So thank you, ancestors. Some of it is really painful because they also gave us some fears, pain, and trauma that we
Mhm.
understand now that those vibrations, the unseen world, is just a viable part as the seen world. And if we're carrying that pain, in our consciousness and in our hearts and in our bodies somewhere, we are reenacting it and giving it to our kids and propelling and perpetuating that pain. So we're living in a great time of great endings on one hand and great new beginning on another hand. And we are the transitional generation to say, I don't want this anymore. I want to move more into that. And
Mm-hmm.
we are responsible to make that change. Obviously, when I say generation, it's you and me and everybody that's listening, because
Mm-hmm.
it's on us, the individual, to step up and heal ourselves and make the change with ourselves. As Martin Luther King said, be the change you want to see in the world. So it's on us. And we're finally getting that message that we have the power. As one person, we are powerful. You see so many examples now, because we have the internet to show us more knowledge. You see so many examples of one person that is going out there with a message and succeeding to bring people in and empower them to share that vision. And this is an amazing place and time to be alive on the planet, because we have the power, we the people.
Well, that's why I love
So I think this
watching
is,
you. You're inspiring me,
that's why
so
what?
I said you, that's why I
Oh,
watch you and you inspire me. So I hear your message, and now I'm broadcasting my own message and helping people who are choosing to use their voice with their gifts and their work. And I just want to amplify all that. So I think there's a lot more people like me too, who just want to have these conversations and figure out how we can move forward into the next age with power and grace and intelligence. Yeah.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
it's it's that time on the planet to own yourself. And I think
Hmm.
that the first step is always know yourself. Because if you know yourself better, you can also own yourself better, and you
Yeah.
can show up in your full power. And
Hmm.
obviously, it's a journey to know yourself and to
Yeah.
own yourself and to walk your talk. It's a big journey. And
Yeah.
it's a bumpy road, and it's never a straight line. It's always in zigzag. But hey, you get to visit a lot of different places.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel like getting to know yourself is a big, almost deconditioning process. You have to figure out what it is about the person you've become that was never really you in the first place, but just a product of your environment and your conditioning and all of that. That's the hard part I find, but
That's the
that's another
healing
topic.
part. But hey, that person was you. All those parts were you as well for that
Yeah.
time. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that you have to continue being that person all the time. That's the thing. That is the freedom that we're understanding with the Age of Aquarius conception, that we are not bound to where we were born, to the social conditioning that we had, to an idea of this is it and that's what I have and I have to stick to it. No, we can change. Change is scary, but sometimes necessary, and most of the time brings you to a better place. So if you make it with a conscious intention to know yourself better, and that's my 2 cents about astrology. Astrology is such a powerful tool because we come with instructions. The more we know our chart, the more we know the gifts and challenges and the path. There is a path laid down in your chart to show
Mm-hmm.
you where you're going, where you're coming from, where you're going to. And the more you know that, it's like a program. Hey, this is my program, and I can tweak it and I can play with it and I can at least know what it is. So, power to the knowledge, self healing, and becoming that new version of yourself all the time.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much, Galit. You're such a good speaker and so eloquent and succinct. I've learned so much, more than I thought I would. I predicted that the list of questions that I had for you, you would just answer anyways, as we went along, and that pretty much happened. I did have one last question, which I don't know if it's really relevant or not, but So for the Age of Aquarius, do people who have Aquarius as their sun sign, or I have Aquarius in my moon as my moon sign, do the Aquarius placements in our charts, do they have more influence or anything during the Age of Aquarius?
Well, you guys that have Aquarius, Pluto is going into your sign and it will help you transform and become that more Aquarian energy. And obviously, since you have Aquarius placements, the energy of Aquarius is more familiar to you on an intrinsic
Mhm.
level. So, yeah, you can bring that forth and say, here is an example of someone with a moon in Aquarius. And this is what it means. I have Saturn in Aquarius. So I'm a teacher, Saturn, to the Aquarian age. How
Oh,
perfect that is, right? So
yes.
we do use our Aquarian placements. However, Pluto is going to square and opposite all the fixed signs. So all of fixed signs are going to go through a major transformation in life in order to bring that. Pluto wants you to be powerful. So it will get rid of anything that doesn't make you powerful and bring you to that powerful place.
Wow. Yes. You are one of the great teachers of the Aquarian age. I love it. With your
Thank
Aquarian and Saturn. I love that so much. Ah, okay. Well, unless you have anything else to add, I think that wraps it up.
I
I
want to add one
appreciate,
thing. I want to add
yeah,
one thing. You
sure.
know, I'm older than you guys, probably most of the people that listen. And I think that if I would go back and redo my life, the one thing I would advise my younger self is don't be afraid, don't fear, don't buy into fear. It's an illusion, it's an idea, it's something you buy into. Be courageous. This is your time. Know yourself better. Fear is when you don't know something. That's all. Know yourself better. Own yourself. Walk your talk and live the best life. That's it.
Thank you so much. I'm just absorbing that into all of the cells of my being. That was so great to hear. Thank you so
Mm.
much, Galit, for joining us. Everybody follow Galit at Astrology Dome. That's on Instagram and on YouTube. She's awesome. And I hope I'll have you again on the show someday. And yeah, we'll see everybody next time on the Ethereal Explorer.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for having me. Bye
Bye.
bye then.